This section opens with emotional intensity. It reveals how most people spend their lives trying to meet expectations of society, family, or peers, while their true dreams fade quietly inside them. It explores the psychological concept of external validation and how it traps people into living small, predictable lives. The script evokes empathy and awareness, helping listeners recognize this truth in themselves. The tone shifts from reflective pain to awakening, showing that self-focus isn't selfish, it's the first act of freedom. The final lines ignite a spark of rebellion against conformity, urging the listener to reclaim their attention from the noise and redirect it inward toward their own purpose. Section 3, Rebuilding Confidence Through Small Wins. This section explores why solitude is essential for clarity. It explains in simple emotional language how quiet moments help you reconnect with what truly matters. Drawing on psychological research, it describes how constant distraction rewires the brain to crave approval and instant rewards, killing focus and creativity. The message builds momentum as it reframes solitude as power, not loneliness. It guides the audience to see self-reflection as a daily ritual of alignment where one's thoughts, goals, and energy are purified. The section ends on a powerful emotional note, the idea that silence reveals your true voice, the one that the world tried to drown out. Section 3, Rebuilding Confidence Through Small Wins. This section shifts the focus from inner awareness to personal growth. It explains how self-confidence isn't built through luck or praise, but through repeated small victories. It uses psychology-backed ideas like dopamine reinforcement and habit formation to show that progress, not perfection, fuels transformation. The tone is energetic and encouraging, helping the listener feel capable of rebuilding from wherever they are. The section reminds them that every small action counts, that each step toward their dream rebuilds their belief. It closes with emotional empowerment, the realization that consistent effort, even in silence, creates unstoppable momentum. Section 4, Protecting Your Energy and Cutting Out Distractions. Here, the focus turns to discipline and emotional boundaries. The section explains how energy leaks happen through toxic relationships, negativity, and overexposure to comparison-driven environments. It draws on concepts from emotional intelligence and cognitive psychology to describe why protecting your energy is self-respect, not isolation. The tone grows more assertive, urging the audience to start saying no unapologetically, to protect their focus like a sacred resource. It builds urgency, reminding them that their dreams require fuel, and their attention is that fuel. The closing message is empowering. Protecting your energy isn't rejection of others, it's devotion to your purpose. Section 5, The Discipline of Daily Focus. This section dives into the structure of consistency. It explores how focus is a muscle that must be trained daily, drawing from neuroscience. It explains how the brain adapts to what you repeatedly think about, turning intention into identity. The tone is motivational and grounded, helping the listener visualize their dream as something they can touch through disciplined daily action. It emphasizes that success isn't about working harder, it's about working with intention. The section ends with a strong, rhythmic message. Discipline isn't punishment, it's the pathway that turns dreams into visible reality. Section 6, The Pain of Growth and Why It's Worth It. This section acknowledges the struggle. It delves into the discomfort that comes with transformation, loneliness, doubt, setbacks, and explains why pain is not a signal to quit, but a sign of evolution. Using emotional storytelling, logic, and psychological truth, it reframes pain as a teacher, not an enemy. The tone is raw, almost spiritual, reminding listeners that every challenge shapes their strength. It emphasizes emotional resilience, the idea that endurance builds character. The section ends with powerful momentum. The pain you endure now will one day become your proof that you never gave up on yourself. Section 7, Reconnecting with the Vision that started it all. Here, the energy becomes deeply personal and reflective again. It guides the listener to reconnect with their original dream, the spark that once made their heart race. It explores how life's noise made them forget, but how it's still alive inside them. The section uses emotional visualization techniques, asking the audience to imagine their future self, thanking them for not giving up. It focuses on purpose activation, helping them emotionally link daily discipline with lifelong fulfillment. The closing lines are inspiring, painting a vivid picture of hope and renewed direction, the rebirth of the dream that once felt lost. Section 8, Becoming the Person Who Lives Their Dream. The final section unites everything. It calls the listener to step into their new identity, the version of themselves who acts with focus, courage, and faith. It explains that transformation isn't a moment, but a decision made every day. The tone is victorious, yet grounded, offering emotional closure through empowerment. The script ends with a crescendo of conviction. When you focus on yourself and your dreams, you stop chasing validation and start living in truth. The last lines are deeply resonant, a declaration that self-focus is not selfishness, but the purest form of self-love and the foundation of every great destiny. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself whose life you're really living? Every day you wake up and move through routines that feel familiar but somehow empty. You chase approval, follow trends, meet expectations, and call it purpose, but deep down there's a quiet voice asking, when did I stop living for me? It's the voice you silence every time you choose comfort over courage, validation over authenticity. The world taught you to seek acceptance, to be what others wanted, and somewhere along the way you forgot the power that comes from focusing on yourself. You weren't born to live a borrowed dream. You weren't placed here to meet everyone's expectations while abandoning your own. The truth is, most people never realize how deeply they've been programmed to live for others. They shape their choices around opinions, fearing judgment more than regret. They sacrifice their passion for the illusion of belonging. But belonging that costs your identity isn't belonging, it's bondage. The moment you stop living for yourself, you begin to die in small, invisible ways. There's a kind of peace that comes when you finally decide to reclaim your energy from the noise. When you stop asking, what will they think, and start asking, what do I want? That's the moment everything begins to change. You start seeing that focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's the act of returning home to the one person who's been waiting for your attention all along, you. Because the truth is, you can't give your best to anyone else until you first give your best to yourself. For too long, you've been told that self-focus is arrogance, that humility means self-sacrifice, that love means putting others first. But real love, real purpose starts within. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't inspire others while ignoring your own spark. The greatest gift you can give the world is a version of you that's whole, alive, and in pursuit of something real. When you focus on yourself, you start radiating strength instead of seeking it. You attract peace instead of chasing it. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've finally aligned with who you truly are. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you redirected every ounce of energy you spend worrying about others' opinions back into your own growth? How powerful could you become if you stopped apologizing for wanting more? The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. It needs you in your full truth, your full passion, your full potential. When you focus on yourself, you stop comparing and start creating. You stop existing and start living. You step out of the crowd and into your purpose. This is your reminder that your dreams matter. Not because they'll impress others, but because they were planted in you for a reason. You are not here to fade into the background. You are here to rise, to build, to express, to live fully. And it all begins the moment you decide to focus on yourself, unapologetically, consistently, and fearlessly. Stay with this message until the end, because what comes next will awaken a part of you that's been waiting too long to be seen, the part that remembers who you are and why you were born to chase your dreams. Silence is not empty, it's full of answers. When you finally give yourself permission to disconnect from the noise, you begin to hear what your soul has been trying to tell you all along. The constant scrolling, comparing, and reacting have created a world where we mistake distraction for direction. We crave stimulation because we fear stillness. Yet, in that stillness lies the truth that can change everything. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's alignment. It's where clarity is born and purpose takes shape. When you spend time alone, you start to see who you truly are beneath the layers of influence. You begin to notice how much of your life has been shaped by external noise, opinions, expectations, and pressures that were never yours to carry. But when you step into silence, those voices fade and the real one emerges. The voice that knows your purpose, your values, your vision. The one that has been buried under fear, waiting for you to listen. The more time you spend in solitude, the more powerful that voice becomes. It starts guiding you toward what feels right, not what looks right. Science confirms what the heart already knows. Your brain needs stillness to reset. When you allow space for reflection, your mind reorganizes itself, connects dots you couldn't see before, and builds new patterns of focus. That's not magic. It's neuroplasticity, the brain's way of evolving with your attention. Every moment you choose peace over noise, you rewire your mind for clarity. You teach yourself to respond instead of react, to focus instead of flee. Solitude becomes the training ground for inner strength, and in that quiet discipline, your dreams gain direction. The world tries to convince you that success is about constant motion, constant sharing, constant proving. But the most powerful breakthroughs happen in silence. That's where ideas are born, where creativity flows freely, where you remember that your worth was never tied to being seen. You don't need validation to exist. You don't need applause to be enough. You only need the courage to face yourself fully, to sit with your thoughts, your emotions, your truth, and let them shape you into someone unstoppable. When you begin to enjoy your own company, you reclaim your energy from everything that drains it. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You start protecting your peace as if your life depends on it, because it does. Every time you choose silence over chaos, reflection over reaction, you strengthen the connection between who you are and who you're becoming. That connection is the foundation of unstoppable focus. This is how you find alignment, not by doing more, but by listening more. Listening to the rhythm of your own intuition, the quiet certainty that you are meant for something greater. The world around you may not understand it. They may call your stillness isolation, your boundaries arrogance. But let them talk. You're not withdrawing. You're rising. You're choosing depth over noise, purpose over popularity. And as you do, you begin to attract what truly belongs to you: peace, vision, and power. Keep creating those quiet moments. Guard them, cherish them, because in the silence you will meet the version of yourself that has been waiting for your attention, the one who knows where you're going, the one who's ready to lead. That stillness will give you more direction than any advice, more clarity than any validation, and more strength than any praise. Focus there and watch your world begin to align with who you were always meant. Progress begins the moment you decide that waiting is no longer an option. You don't need perfect timing, endless motivation, or the approval of anyone else. You just need to begin quietly, imperfectly, but with intention. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And the foundation of that confidence is small wins, simple, consistent actions that prove to your mind that you're capable, worthy, and in control of your path. Each small victory sends a message to your brain: I can do this, I am growing, I am becoming. Every time you take a step toward your dream, no matter how small, you trigger change inside yourself. Psychology calls it positive reinforcement. Life calls it momentum. Your brain learns from repetition. It rewards effort, not outcome. When you act, even when you don't feel ready, you create evidence that you can trust yourself. That evidence builds self-belief, and self-belief builds unstoppable confidence. You don't become confident by waiting for things to get easier. You become confident by showing up when they're still hard. The act of showing up again and again rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does. This is how growth works. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's quiet persistence. The decision to do the small things that others overlook. It's waking up and giving your best even when no one is watching. It's doing one more rep, writing one more page, studying one more hour, when it would be easier to quit. The world glorifies overnight success, but the truth is, greatness is built in invisible moments of effort. Every tiny improvement compounds, forming a force that becomes impossible to ignore. The person who stays consistent in the dark always shines the brightest in the light. There's science behind this transformation. Every small success releases dopamine, the brain's chemical of reward. That feeling of accomplishment motivates you to keep going, to chase the next small win. Slowly, your brain begins to crave progress more than comfort. That's when you evolve from seeking ease to seeking growth. You stop running from challenges and start running toward them, because you understand something powerful. Comfort never created confidence, and fear never built fulfillment. Every challenge becomes a training ground for a stronger, more focused version of you. Your confidence is not built by what you achieve, but by who you become in the process. Every small victory reshapes your self-image, replacing doubt with determination. You start trusting yourself more, and that trust changes everything. When you trust yourself, you no longer need constant reassurance. You stop fearing failure because you've proven you can recover. You stop waiting for permission because you've realized the power to act has always been yours. The journey becomes less about perfection and more about persistence. Remember, confidence doesn't come from thinking. You can't think your way into belief. You act your way into belief. Every single step counts. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your inner foundation. And one day you'll look back and realize that the small steps you once thought were insignificant were actually the stepping stones to your transformation. So don't underestimate the power of small wins. They're not just progress markers. They're the proof that you are changing. You are building something real, something unshakable. Keep moving forward. Keep showing up. Let your actions speak louder than your doubts, because every time you take one more step toward your dream, you're not just getting closer to it, you're becoming the person capable of living it. Growth will test you in ways comfort never could. The path to your dreams isn't smooth or predictable. It's filled with resistance, setbacks, and moments where everything inside you screams to stop. But that pain, that discomfort is not punishment, it's preparation. Every challenge you face is sculpting the strength you'll need for what's waiting ahead. Most people run from pain, not realizing it's the very thing shaping their power. Growth demands discomfort because change can't happen where you feel safe. Safety keeps you the same. Struggle transforms you. The truth is, evolution hurts. When you decide to outgrow old habits, environments, and versions of yourself, it feels like loss. You grieve comfort, familiarity, and certainty. But beneath that pain lies rebirth. Psychology calls it cognitive dissonance, the tension between who you are and who you're becoming. That tension feels uncomfortable because it's stretching you beyond limitation. But that stretch is where your breakthrough lives. When everything feels uncertain, it's not a sign to quit. It's a sign that you're evolving. You can't build emotional resilience in ease. You build it when life throws pressure your way and you choose persistence over panic. Every moment you face discomfort and keep moving, your mind learns that pain doesn't control you. You develop what psychologists call emotional tolerance, the ability to feel everything and still keep going. That's the quiet superpower of growth. It's not about eliminating pain, it's about mastering your response to it. You stop seeing struggle as an enemy and start seeing it as feedback. It's showing you where your limits are so you can expand them. There's beauty in the breaking. Pain exposes what's weak so you can rebuild stronger. It strips away illusions, forcing you to confront what's real. The moments that hurt the most are often the ones that push you closest to truth. You learn that failure doesn't define you, it refines you. Setbacks stop feeling like endings and start feeling like training. Every disappointment becomes data. Every rejection becomes redirection. You begin to realize that nothing is wasted. Not the pain, not the waiting, not the confusion. It's all shaping your character, deepening your purpose, and aligning your path. The greatest transformations are not loud. They happen quietly in the shadows when no one is watching. It's in those moments of doubt and solitude where you either break down or break through. The difference is choice. You can choose to see pain as proof that you're weak or as evidence that you're strong enough to endure the process of becoming. Every challenge is a mirror reflecting your inner strength back at you. When you stop running from the struggle and start learning from it, you unlock a deeper kind of peace, the peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you can handle it. Pain is not the end of your story, it's the middle of your transformation. It's the fire that purifies, not destroys. You were never meant to stay comfortable. You were meant to grow, to stretch, to evolve into the fullest version of yourself. So the next time life tests you, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this building in me? Because every challenge, every hardship, every scar is proof that you're still fighting, still growing, still moving closer to the person you're destined to become. When you've endured enough pain to outgrow the old version of yourself, something begins to shift inside you. You start to crave alignment more than approval. You begin to realize that the dream you once imagined isn't gone. It's just been waiting for you to return to it. The noise of the world made you forget, but it never disappeared. Beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and distraction, that original vision still burns quietly, waiting for you to notice it again. It's the part of you that remembers what you were meant to do, who you were meant to become, and the life you were meant to live. Reconnecting with that vision means remembering what used to make your heart come alive before the world told you to be realistic. It's not about chasing fantasy. It's about awakening purpose. That dream was never random. It was a glimpse of your potential, a whisper from your higher self. The moment you start listening to that inner calling again, something powerful happens. Clarity replaces confusion, excitement replaces fear, and your energy realigns with something greater than routine. You begin to feel it in your chest. A pull, a direction, a quiet but unstoppable force guiding you toward who you're meant to be. Life has a way of testing how badly you want it. It throws distractions, failures, and detours to see if your desire is surface level or soul deep. Most people give up not because the dream isn't possible, but because they stop believing they're worthy of it. But worthiness isn't something you earn, it's something you remember. You were born deserving of everything that sets your soul on fire. The dream in your heart was placed there for a reason. It's not an accident, it's your compass. Every time you honor it, you step into alignment with your purpose. Every time you ignore it, you drift further from who you truly are. Reconnecting with your vision requires honesty. You must be willing to admit what you truly want, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. Fear often hides behind logic, convincing you to settle for comfort instead of greatness. But the discomfort of honesty is better than the regret of pretending. When you face your truth, you stop living on autopilot. You start creating intentionally. The more you focus on that inner vision, the more the universe begins to respond. Opportunities appear, people align, energy shifts. But it all begins with clarity, remembering what you want and refusing to let fear dilute it. There's a version of you waiting in the future who has already achieved that dream. That version of you is stronger, wiser, and more focused. They are proof that what you desire is possible. Every disciplined day brings you closer to them. Every time you choose faith over doubt, you bridge the gap between who you are and who you're meant to become. You owe it to yourself to keep that vision alive, not as a distant fantasy, but as a living promise. When you reconnect with your dream, life regains meaning. You stop living for survival and start living for significance. You stop chasing happiness and start embodying it. You move with conviction because you finally remember what you're here for. That vision, once buried beneath fear and noise, becomes your fuel again. Let it lead you. Let it challenge you. Let it transform you. Because once you realign with your true purpose, every step forward stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like destiny. When your heart begins to align with your higher vision, you start to understand that success is not built through chance, but through conscious becoming. You stop waiting for the right moment and realize the right moment is the one you decide to move. The energy you bring into each day begins to shift. Hesitation turns into intention, and fear starts losing its grip. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" but instead declare, "I'm becoming the person who will." That shift in mindset is where transformation truly begins. You no longer chase results, you embody them. You start to operate from a state of inner certainty that no external validation can touch. Every action you take from that state of alignment compounds. Every morning you choose discipline over distraction. You prove to yourself that you are in control of your future. Every time you silence doubt and act despite resistance, your inner foundation strengthens. And when you start to live from that place of deep conviction, you begin to move with a quiet power that others can feel. People sense something different in you, not arrogance, but grounded purpose. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're fully present in your truth. Progress at this stage is not about speed, but depth. You realize the goal isn't just to build a life that looks good, it's to create one that feels right. You start detaching from the illusion of perfection and commit to authentic growth. The external world may still test you. Circumstances may not always align. But the difference now is that you no longer collapse under pressure, you expand within it. Adversity becomes fuel. Rejection becomes redirection. You understand that every setback carries instruction, and every challenge refines you into a stronger version of yourself. The mind that once doubted begins to transform into a tool of faith. Instead of replaying fears, it starts visualizing outcomes. Instead of overthinking, it begins to trust. That internal evolution changes everything because the outer world always mirrors your inner state. The moment you start seeing yourself as capable, life begins to open in ways it never did before. The more you nurture that inner certainty, the more opportunities align with your energy. You no longer attract chaos, you attract clarity because that's what you've become. True power isn't loud. It's silent confidence rooted in self-awareness. It's the ability to move forward without needing reassurance. It's choosing to believe in yourself even when no one else does. When you live in that frequency, you stop negotiating with your old limitations. You stop entertaining the versions of yourself that existed before growth. You become immune to distractions because you're too focused on expansion. And that's when momentum becomes unstoppable. Not because the path gets easier, but because your spirit becomes unshakable. This is where transformation takes hold, not in the grand gestures, but in the quiet decisions that accumulate day after day, in the way you wake up with purpose instead of apathy, in the way you no longer wait for motivation because discipline has become your nature. You start walking through life with a presence that commands respect from yourself first, and the world follows. You realize you were never meant to fit into ordinary. You were meant to redefine it. Every breath becomes a declaration that you are here to rise, to evolve, to lead yourself into the life you were always destined to live. When you begin to live with that deep inner power, you stop chasing approval and start cultivating peace. You start to see that true success has less to do with how the world perceives you and everything to do with how you perceive yourself. The real victory is when you wake up each morning grounded in who you are, no longer pulled in 1,000 directions by comparison or fear. You start realizing that your energy is sacred, and wherever you place it, you breathe life into that thing. So you choose carefully what deserves your focus. You choose carefully who gets access to your thoughts, your time, and your heart. It's not selfish to protect your peace, it's self-respect. The world constantly tries to pull you into noise, to make you believe that being busy means being productive, that being liked means being worthy. But when you begin to focus on yourself and your dreams, you stop playing that game. You start valuing silence over chaos, clarity over confusion. You recognize that the more energy you waste on proving yourself, the less energy you have for building yourself. So you let go, not out of anger, but out of evolution. You stop explaining your growth to people who have no intention of growing. You stop apologizing for wanting more out of life. That's when self-mastery begins. You start to understand that your emotions, your habits, your thoughts, they all follow the direction of your focus. Whatever you give attention to expands. So if you constantly feed doubt, it multiplies. But when you feed belief, everything around you begins to align. The brain is wired to search for what it's told to look for. When you tell it to find reasons why you'll fail, it will. But when you tell it to find reasons why you'll rise, it does that too. The human mind is not your enemy, it's your most powerful ally if you train it. That's why focusing on yourself is not isolation, it's alignment. It's a return to your center where your power actually lives. In that space, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. You no longer live from impulse, you live from vision. Every decision becomes guided by purpose, not emotion. Every step you take is anchored in awareness, not fear. That's what creates unshakable confidence, not perfection, but presence. When you're fully present in your own path, distractions lose their power. The noise fades, the comparisons dissolve. You become untouchable, not because life becomes easier, but because your mind becomes stronger. And as that strength grows, something incredible happens. Peace replaces urgency. You stop rushing because you understand that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. You stop seeking shortcuts because you realize true transformation requires patience. Every small effort you make is building something unseen but real, a foundation of character, discipline, and faith. That foundation becomes your armor. It's what keeps you grounded when life shakes, what keeps you calm when the world demands chaos. When you reach this place of inner stillness, you start to feel a new kind of freedom, the freedom that comes from being in control of yourself. You begin to trust that no matter what happens, you can handle it. You don't need external certainty because you've built internal strength. You walk through life knowing that everything you're working for is already within reach as long as you keep nurturing the mind, protecting the soul, and moving forward in quiet, unrelenting faith.